hi. I don't even say hello anymore now after knowing everything that I know as we've come through this journey. Hi. I only have I don't do a lot of replying back and forth in the comments because of the setup that I still have going on here. But I'm grateful for what I got. I just today and I'm gonna start and I've got a really cool series that I'm gonna start doing here on this channel, and it's going to bridge over into some others that are have used CoU 32 and starseedology and star aeonomy. Even the ones of you that have followed me on this channel since around 2017, 2018. I want to give all you guys that are still around here a big huge hug, first of all. And I'm getting chills right now because I'm this video is me reflecting with all of y'all on this journey that we have been on with the collective for at least since 2018. I feel, I did have to, when I first, this channel has always been about documentation of my process. I started this channel as Cosmic Christie because that's originally how the story was written in, and my name, Kristen and Christy, and even how that links into the story of who I found out who I pieces of who I was with the rest of the collective that started these first waves and second waves, third waves. I don't know if y'all remember that terminology. For those of us who rode the sleigh, there were clear waves of the collective. We're in a bubble within a bubble within a bubble, and let me tell you what we didn't know is that the walls went way further out than we could ever expect before it comes back down and mirrors back down on us. And so in 2017, and you can even go because I'm reflecting on beings like us. What we even determined, through this is the more ancient you are, your soul and who you are and who you're connected to and where they's buried. See, we all learned through this process that was way more valuable than we ever even understood or could connect to. No matter who we were and how we were all magically connected in some way form, whether it was organic or artificial, because both were true in the past 4 years, depending on what energy you had in your body and in your DNA. And in the, now whenever we look back, and so I'm on here right now talking to all us tried and true that, 2018 I was sitting right here and I said, okay, we're getting on this shit. We're getting on this cosmic wave. There'll be another one because that's what's resetting now. There'll be another wave, but there'll never be another wave like this one. And that was 2018. Now, whether you were conscious of it or not, that you jumped in that spaceship or you went back to clear time in your DNA, even though we didn't fully understand. None of us did. Exactly what it is that spirit was showing us to do. We just knew that if we were following our heart. We weren't messing with anybody's free will. We were keeping it clean. We were staying real high vibration, and we somehow got through it. And that's just the darn truth. I mean, give me a thumbs up if you agree with that, because I'm on here speaking for and getting used to speaking to you guys again, because we're 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 still pulling out. I'm still pulling out of. I mean, I do feel like it was a beating. um, but it was also all necessary in rewriting what needed to be rewritten, and just who I was. And see, these are perceptions that when you get to the other side of it, you can look down and you can see so much clearer. But whenever you're in the middle of it, you're having to stay so completely clear and read the wind and read what birds are coming to your window, reading however you're, see, because I'm air. So whenever I have to get real still, and on Sundays, that's a really good day to do it, which is why I'm on here, even naturally aligning to the energy of these reflections, for all of us to kind of start talking about what happened and how do we know this stuff, and then what that means to your human physical body, how it transmutes and changes, just like people think they have the COVID and all these things. I mean, I can explain that, what it really was, and what we've learned about healing, and what that really means, and what you don't have to do the old way in order to get even better results, and how that is even connected to your thought processes, what you're holding on to, because all that energy has to flush through your field to create your reality. So when we talk about who we are now and what we've learned and how spirit talked to each one of us, each one of those conversations, depending on which sequences you have in your physical body that you activated, whether you meant to or not. Because there's many of us that had been on this long spiritual path, or that had generations that were consciously healing these lines, a whole bunch of family groups. And then there were the ones that didn't know at all. Then there were the ones that were adopted out and moved around, and then you really didn't know where you came from in this current now. Because in 2017, unbeknownst to you, everything had to be rebirthed and was turned on brand new again in some sense of the way. Now, if you go look back at 2017, and if you pull up archaeology finds of 2017, you're going to find the Peru skulls. You're going to find the Viking queen that's full regalia that proved that women fought I believe it was 46 obsidian statues that they found in Egypt, because that's how it works. When the DNA and the physics, because it had all been counting down, this was just, we didn't know when, we didn't know how, and we didn't know what's up, Shan Man. We didn't know how it, and that's what I'm on here attempting to talk to y'all about, what just happened and how we know it to be true and how it is true in different dimensional perspectives. We're talking about the same thing. We're talking about the same battle. It's just different perspectives as who was fighting who and what they's fighting for. Period. Dot. All of those mummies, Egyptian artifacts, the reality imprints it when the physics hits in a circuit of human vessel beings that are walking the 711 plane, connected to an organic with the earth, and how we project this planet, how we project the cosmos, how we project the trees, how we have a human form down here and things that we would call earth, is all from all of us projecting it at the same time. First and foremost, at the highest, I mean, because we can talk about perceptions and we can talk about this and that, but at the highest level, where the manipulation and all that was going on, it was just trying to get those of us to say certain things at the right time, and enough of us saying it produces a frequency that then can be coded, manipulated, utilized depending on how they've tried to harness it, basically. And that took on many different characters in the last 4 years that were coming for it, whether in your personal life or in the global life. I mean, look what's going on right now everywhere. Even though things look bad out there right now, it would have been a whole lot worse too. And this is how we know that it's true. Those of us, and look, this could be anybody who's gone through a purification ascension process. If you've been stuck, or all of a sudden there was an attack of some sort in the past couple of years, and especially coming out since August, it's physics. So when your energy and our energy is connected into this pattern, and then all of us beings that have been clearing our physical vessels, which is, if you go back and look at the research, and well, I forget when the flu came in, if it was like 2G or 3G, but when we talk about 5G, right? And what that really means is that they're going out into space and they're harnessing the energy, and then the physical beings that have their etheric bodies that are activated way out here, you're processing space. You are. This is why, last 2 days I had like major head congestion all of a sudden, and And this is why you flush in different ways. You'll just have sneezing fits. All of a sudden, you can't breathe. Your head's congested. That's because your vibration, your frequency's gotten so high that it's flushing the mucus because it's having to flush through your body because your body is attached to your etheric bodies. And the more ancient, and that means it's going out way, your chakras are hitting energetic patterns wherever your star systems hold a net over your particular Da Vinci code. So a lot of us, like me, didn't even know that we had any type of telepathy gifts, manifestation gifts, that we didn't know that we came from long lines of spiritualists and even esoteric. We had no idea. We were never trained on any of that. We basically, because of the connections and how we were bred down here, even though we didn't know what family lines we came from, when the reset happened, because it happened in 2017, but that also means it's linked into 2008, because it's how it works. Then we there's these binaries that go back to years 1010, and I don't want to get into all that, but see, there's physics, and there's a physics number pattern, and then on the opposite side of that is going to be however the energy is moving around it, and it ain't going to be in codes like this 5 6 9 10. It's going to be the actual frequency of whatever that's creating because you just put that code sequence in. So what happened whenever everything reset and all of us had been claiming who we were in this big amoeba, that all the burials in Giza, all the burials in Egypt, everything, every single cemetery plot, every single Vatican plot, every single Masonic cemetery plot, even, because I mean, if you're following the government, then that's what it's powered from. I mean, and then how your DNA was attached in to all the ones that were down here, whether buried or alive, connected and activated inside of us. This is why they tried to vaccinate everybody. Because, and if you did get vaccinated, don't freak out, but it is part of what we know now is that just as human beings, we all have so many gifts. We have the main thing with beings like us. When I say beings like us, is you're like us. You really are, or you're starting to become like us, because at the end of the day, we didn't realize that we were as powerful as we were. I've in my journey, because I acted, the beginning of all of this research was talking about Rh negatives and the blood and the metamorphosis of the blood, and then even more specific into the O race and what the O race was feeding off of AB, because it really is how it was set up within the blood, because each blood has a different frequency. Now we start talking about the branches and ancestry, right? But I mean, there was only 4 blood types down here. And blood and water are the anomaly in the physics of where we are. Because where we as humans are traveling, because see, now we are moving. This is what's different now, because everything's gone back to an organic frequency where everything moves. It doesn't just type, and then they get the Morse code and the message comes back. No, not anymore. Not anymore. That message is broken down into this layer and this layer and this layer and this layer and this layer. There's so many, because now everything's moving at a yin and yang together, no matter. Now, those of us, like me, the ones that kind of know what we're talking about right now, and a lot of you that are just starting to realize, oh my gosh, that experience that I had, the dream that I had, the I right before this video came on, it makes me so sad to watch, and that's why it was so important that I saw it right before I came on here. And it's a guy on YouTube I don't really even watch, right? But what I saw was that his son just died. He just got a phone call. His son just died, and his words out of his mouth were, "My grandpa went through this. Now we're going through it." No, you don't have to. No, you don't have to. But what I'm talking about here, and what beings like me and us realize and know now, is that that's what we were here to stop. The curses that were on the family lines, the because the process of the soul clearing, it's like it never was finished, and we could argue back and forth forever, and everybody's going to have their different perspective on why it didn't happen, but it didn't. Bloodlines that were doing either side of anything, whether the family's involved in pharmaceuticals, or they are doing some type of ritual, or they're in cosmetics and they know that, or the sciences of it all, because we could get real deep in the back end of how they're making human bodies and stuff down here. All that is karma that build up in the lines, and some of you might be in those lines, those specific ones that I just talked about, because it doesn't matter. I mean, everything was set up down here as the son paid for the father's sins. Well, you don't even know who dad is, kind of sucks, right? But a lot of us, that's why our experiences happened the way that they did, even inside. It would In the past 4 years, you would have been more inside, like a vector of some sort. You would have felt like, and everybody's was different, just because of the physics of how, when we came down into this energy and started blending with it, what happened was we kind of all scattered, if you will, because whenever it flipped, the highest that you were on any of those mountaintops, you became the lowest subchamber with the entire collective with you. Now, for those of us who got real high, right, whenever it flipped, so I mean, this is your frequency and what you're tuned to, and putting the knowledge in, because as soon as the knowledge comes in to you, and this is everybody, because this is in 2017, 2018, whenever all this first activated, we were trying, as a community, in telepathy through all the different lines. Everybody was researching and trying to figure out what happened, how can we open things up, and really we all were working in this. You can call it a hive mind, but it's just serious. It's the brain of the collective. and certain ones had, and so all the star seeds, all the different ones that were researching the different botanicals again, researching the different history again. We even brought back in Rasmussen. We brought in Rasputin. I mean, we if you go back, if you in 2018, and all the things that opened up and all the storylines that even opened up for the collective were because we remembered it. And all of us working together as we were connecting back in is how that happened. Each one of us have a different piece in these different layers. Once you connect to that higher etheric pathway, and you could have been born into it, you could have had to rebirth and activate to see it. I mean, see, there everybody's in there in the different layers, and balancing can always merge any physics of energy, and it doesn't have to explode, I think, is the best way to put it. Because in the end, the folklore, and we talk about propaganda, but propaganda, that's laid centuries and centuries and centuries with these stories that we're repeating, not realizing how powerful it is for when we say that story, even. And then at the highest of the frequencies, whenever you're realizing the phonetic tones of each word and each way that things are delivered and how that affects the overall bubble from even a higher perspective, with the physics and how things change down here, and how we're changing our reality, and why it looks like people are fighting each other and this and that, is because each time we move into a higher reality, it's going to go dark and light first thing, because it's physics. So no matter, the sand poured into the water still has the process of how much is going to make it all the way to the bottom, and how much is going to evaporate with the salt in the sun as it's coming this way. So each time we move into a new higher frequency, like we're doing right now, it sets off a chain reaction above and below, to everything in between, which then lifts the physics up with the human body in the higher reality. And I didn't even mean to go off that direction. So when I get on here, I want to channel and give you guys, whoever's watching this, it's my intention to give y'all as much information, and tune in with whoever's going to see this. And so beings like us have a gift to be able to, if you will, see into the future and the past, although that's changing rapidly, because there really is no future timelines anymore that you can looking glass peer into. Everything's live. However, those of us who are walking it, who are creating now in this new reality, because we've come through these stages and been through our tests, that's at what layer we're at right now. To the collective, they're basically like 15 months behind energetically from the impact we're 15 months ahead, also 15 days ahead. And see, it gets because I mean, we could have an entire technical conversation about codes and then line those up with the constellation lineups that we've had pulling Venus through this, and go back to all the ancient prophecies, and everything has come true. At the same time, what was happening was a hyper attack on the human consciousness and human body. So it's kind of like when we all activated, it hit this frequency that was so unknown and had been also on repeat for so long, because beings like us that walked through it cleared it, meaning paid back whatever karma needed to be paid, and then knew to claim it and knew how to work with each other, healing them, because that's what we've all been doing, is healing each other. And even that healing frequency that took over on Zoom was something that was created by our 2017, 2018 healers that came in here, and we were all doing healings. That's how powerful that energy current was laid on that network, that it was even still able to have school for the kids. Seriously, when you really start understanding how much energy you affect and how much you affect around, and then what frequency we actually all made together, because we did. And the more consciousness that you have on how to retune into the wave that we created, that's cosmic surfing. That's what we've been doing. And it gets really deep, because this is the main thing. Those of us who went all the way down, whether you went all the way down into the ego, whether you went all the way down into the mind, whether you went, you had already done the physical healing, so maybe you felt your reality, you had things, because this is why a lot of us right now don't have money and have things. We basically, I mean, we really did time travel. It's in the Bible. The reason, because there were alternate timelines and dimensions, especially because of technology, that were existent for a lot of us and you and the human race, that were being held away, just like Fairfax, Virginia in trouble right now. All their school districts are in trouble right now for not giving the students their proper credentials when they graduated. Like, I don't even know the word verbiage from it, but basically the high school students were getting potential scholarships. They were supposed to get awards of excellence for all these things that were coming in, and Fairfax schools just didn't hand them out, just didn't tell anybody. Well, in a way, that's them and the collective finding out that that's what they were doing, because it was being, the energy of your reality and of our reality was being gated with these light poles and satellite systems. And I mean, I blew a car engine coming through to get to the eclipse in Oklahoma. When I came through Oklahoma to get the 2017 eclipse, my engine blew in the middle of BFE nowhere, Oklahoma, in front of an 80-acre hidden Google plant. That is how strong energy grids were around what you call geopolitics, because the geo grids of that they have gated energetically, that different human energy is going to react to these what you think are invisible gates, but they're not. They're intentionally set, and there's many layers of them. This is, I'm even describing the matrix. Well, that is what GIS politics is. Now realize beings like us that were hidden here to be able to clear down to the root of everything, because beings like us, we cling to the root no matter what it was. We got to the root of it. Trust that. That's that was, it took a long time to get back to the root of it. But anybody that you meet that's a healer, and that's the next video I'm going to do. I'm going to talk about the difference between healings and clearings, and I'm going to talk about how to what we've learned about how to balance that out with the giver and a receiver, and what to expect from each side, and some things that we've seen. I mean, because this is if you're a barber, this is if you're a massage therapist, this is if you have interaction with people every day, you're a healer. Then it's knowing how to keep that balanced, and see, and this is what we're all learning, how to work together quickly. Because the good news is, we're all turned on, and we're manifesting, and we have some clear paths of where we're gonna like jump back in the river, because it'll happen, it'll start lining up. We're all kind of like, it's January, so the physics of January are, it's like we're waiting for the needle to drop for February. It's kind of right now we're having to kind of pull ourselves up again, because it's been a wild ride. And I want to talk about that too right before I go. I missed you guys so much. I don't know how long I'm going to be on here. I like to talk about these things, because what I've found is if I don't get out what's in my head, it'll keep brewing, and then it creates chaos in my life. It's like if I know I've got to come in and show up for some reason, even though my 3D self is being pushed to do it. I've been through it enough times to know that that's just me, because I'm healing emotionally. No more looped. No more loops. No more loops. No matter who, it's kind of like if all the healers could ask people questions before we do whatever our modality is. One of my new questions is, where did you get sent in 2018? Because it really is from like a big, overall knowing what we know about the DNA lines, knowing about the different factions, because we all went up against some and worked with some and still trying to maneuver with some, because we're still learning what beings like us are. By each one of us and you realizing that not everybody can do what you can do. Not everybody can do what you can do. I it it's funny, because as I've traveled and met so many different types of magical beings, powerful beings, because that's what I just basically downloaded the instructions, was able to walk through the process from the stars, because this is astronomy, and how your energetic body works, and what physics you give off, and I had no idea whenever I started to go investigate astronomy that this was what was going to happen and that I was going to jump into a freaking cosmic wave. Now I know, right? If you would have told me I would have had to go through processing like I just did to the extent I did, even down to Anaheim to finish this, I wouldn't be doing it. I can tell you that for sure. But in the middle of it, I was strong enough. I knew what to do. I was so connected into so many groups of y'all that were giving me messages. So many of y'all were sending love, and I'm not talking even if you knew me. I'm just saying to the collective and to whatever saint, deity, God that you're asking and giving support to and asking what you can do, because that was to the extent that we's getting the messages through the rest of y'all in the collective that had proven that you were connected into those different lines, and then you were tested in some way to see if you could receive the power of it. Period. Dot. Right now, in this very moment, with this being Sunday, with Venus is right on Fomalhaut right now. So that's like the furthest out projection. So really kind of what's happening in the reality is that we're battling projectors. It's almost like this group over here is projecting this reality, and this one's projecting this reality, and it's a battle of who has the highest processor, kind of, right this very second. But it don't take very many beings on our side with the processor to overpower this one. But whenever you do, then that creates a frequency that changes the physics again, even because it's all still moving. Everybody's opening up underneath, and now we can't go no further out. We have to merge together where we are. So everything is about moving in balance and communication and opening your mind to understand that perception is reality, and that each one of us, no matter who you are, the last 4 years of your experience here has helped the collective in some way free things that will make more sense in the next 2 years as we keep progressing through it. But the foundation is stable. So I'll be back soon to talk a little bit more. I kind of went all over the place, but I feel like I'll pull back now. Y'all want to, I am opening up to do a little bit of sessions. Let's just say if you feel to resonate to message me about it, then I know you will. Official Chastia Cav at gmail.com. And I'm doing a couple of little things right now, and then I'll talk about it soon. I'm still getting in the groove of figuring out what's next for me and what pieces I want to keep in. And I miss teaching, and I miss the interaction with all of you. And the main thing is, I know if I spend a little bit of time explaining some of these lessons that we've learned on alchemy and physics and energetics and healing into creation and how that processes through, that it will help you so much in the next 12 months of what you're manifesting. So